We got Matt Barnes, All the Smoke podcast, and you can get that on the Odyssey app. Matt, thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate it.
Man, thanks for having me.
Hey, we're obviously talking about how good the Warriors looked last night, but there was just a moment that was captured where LeBron James walks over to the corner of you saw it, and Draymond's not on the bench. He's actually on the court. They tell each other the funniest joke going, and I watched the Warriors players' reaction, and I don't know. You tell me, are we looking too much into that kind of crap?
Yeah. I mean, Draymond's always been someone who talks to other guys, talks to good and bad to other guys. Obviously LeBron is one of his closest friends, and I don't think it's a big deal at all. I think it was more of a kind of a joke. Obviously, everyone saw what Iggy was doing, and guys are probably kind of giggling off of that. But I don't look too far into it as far as people thinking like, oh, they don't respect him anymore, or this and that. This is still the same Draymond Green that has helped this team win 4 previous championships.
Man, let me ask you this, because this is what we know about you. My partner, we discussed it. You ran hot. You played hard. You gave it your all. And on our show, our platform, we try to keep it real. When we saw the punch between Poole and Draymond, I told my partner if I'm Poole, I couldn't come back from that. He could. He got paid. But talk to us about what goes on inside the locker room, the travel, because I'm telling the masses, if the Warriors say they can get past it, who am I to be mad or disappointed that they didn't discipline them? How big of a deal is the off-court stuff that we don't see?
I don't think it's that big of a deal at all, to be honest with you. I think the fact that I'm not condoning what happened. You never really want to fight your teammates, but unfortunately, that's what happens in this game. I think Reggie Miller touched to it last night. Like, fights happen. Period. My first NBA practice, there was a fight. You know what I mean? So, unfortunately, the video got released. To me, that's the bigger concern. But I say that it's not as big of a deal because this is an older veteran team that have been through the wars together. If this was a younger team and guys are playing for contracts and all this kind of stuff, this could possibly splinter a team. But I think with this veteran experience, the leadership that comes from the players and the coaching staff, the greatness this team has accomplished, who knows if Jordan and Draymond's relationship will ever be what it was. I don't even know what it was to begin with. But I do know, and both of them have said it, these guys are pros, and we got to, our goal is to win. So anyone thinking that this is going to slow this team down or come back and bite them in the butt if they go through a 2-game losing streak, I think they're respectfully completely off base only because of who this team already is.
Matt Barnes joining us. You can hear him on All the Smoke, the podcast, and download the Odyssey app. You can take a listen there. Matt, I can't figure out whether Andrew Wiggins is essentially the same player in a great organization, or because he's in a great organization, he's improved significantly. But I mean, just the last year and yesterday's game, I mean, he looks like he is really just comfortable and finding a role. If I asked you, what's the difference between him and Minnesota and Golden State, how would you answer that?
The amount of rings each team has won. Organizations mean a lot. You know what I mean? And he's always been someone that's kind of been dubbed, or, you're the number one player. You didn't live up to the number one player mystique, so to speak. But this guy's consistently been around 20 points a game his entire career. And I think coming to Golden State, I didn't personally think it was going to work, to be honest with you. And I went out and said that, but then definitely backtracked once I saw him kind of finding who he was. And, I think coming in and being around guys that really know how to play the game and really love the game, and an organization that has a foundation and has championship pedigree, he's really blossomed in this. And I think it's less kind of him getting better as a player physically, but being better as a player mentally. Understanding the game more and understanding that the ask isn't as heavy as it used to be. He was the number one pick, supposed to be the go-to guy. You're supposed to carry your franchise, and that's not necessarily who he was. So he's able to come in here and play off of Clay and play off of Steph, and now even play off of Jordan Poole. I mean, imagine Andrew Wiggins, on a good night could be the fourth leading scorer. Like, that's never happened in his entire life, let alone the NBA. So I just think the ask is different. And I think his mental approach to the game and understanding the game is different. And I think he has been a huge pickup and was rewarded handsomely for it.
Man, let me ask you this, because we got an opportunity to, talk to Jordan Poole in person, and I was like, man, I could see the fire in his eyes. And when he went to Santa Cruz, I was like, but now he's back, and I can't believe he signed the deal, because I was telling my partner he thinks he's a 1 or a 2 somewhere. If he were in SAC, if he were in Indiana, how good to Matt Barnes is Jordan Poole? Could he be a 1 or 2 somewhere else?
I think he could, but I also think him biding his time and getting $140 million, not to have to be the 1 or 2 right now, is not a bad second option. He's in a great system. We got a chance to sit down with Clay on my podcast. It actually comes out on Thursday, and Clay spoke so highly of Jordan, even comparing him to Steph in some ways. So I think we were there the day after the fight. Our podcast did a day at practice. And just talking to the guys and the respect they have from obviously after the situation, they said, this kid still got up off the ground, shook it off, got his post-game workout in, got his post-game lift in, and went about his business. So we come there the next day, and he's just laser focused. We're over there watching him work out, and just the effort and the energy he was putting into his workout and trying to perfect his craft. It really said a lot, because, again, on a lesser franchise, when a younger up-and-coming star takes a situation like that, he can get lost. But I don't think this veteran team allowed him to, or I don't even think he wanted to. He knew what the goal was, and the goal was to obviously, get that money and continue to be a key contributor to this team. So I do agree that I think in time he can be a 1 or a 2, most likely a 2, but he can score as the number 1 option. But right now he's just continuing to learn the ropes here. He's still playing a lot of minutes. I'm sure with Clay resting throughout the season, he's going to get a lot of starts. So I think he's just in a great situation that he should, ride until he feels either the keys are handed off, or he feels like, okay, I think I'm ready to take, I think I'm ready to take this next step as far as challenging myself and going to another franchise.
Matt Barnes of All the Smoke. That's a podcast coming out Thursday with Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson. Let me ask you this, man, and I know it's one game. I know that. But, the NBA is so much about the three, shooting. You got to put the ball in the hole.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at the Warriors last night. It's like, okay, they got Steph, Poole, Clay, and I'm looking at the Lakers, and they can't make a shot from beyond the arc. Like, they have nobody reliable. And the Warriors, I'm thinking, one, they just can't beat. They're not going to be able to beat the Warriors. But
No.
Two is how they're in trouble, aren't they? The Lakers.
Yeah, I saw a tweet this morning, and it says LeBron only needs one thing, and that's all the tweet said. And I looked at the comments, and everyone underneath it said shooting. I think it's just it's well known that all you have to do. LeBron is so great, you just have to put players around him that could put the ball in the basket. And, when you look at, they got younger, that's for sure, but did they get players that can really put the ball in the basket? I'm out here in Sacramento right now, and, they have their opening game tonight, and I'm looking at their roster and the way they played in the preseason. I don't look at the wins or losses, but I look at the shooting they added. Sacramento added so much shooting that they're going to be able to win some games based off shooting alone.
Right.
So to look at the Lakers and watch last night's game and see the lack of shooting they have, it was definitely alarming.
Matt, before we get you out of here, let me ask you about this. I'm going to read 3 names to you. Terrell Owens, Tom Brady, LeBron James. They've defied gravity to me. What about Steph Curry? He's 34. I know he's younger than those guys. But, Matt, I tell my partner, I don't see slippage yet. Like Westbrook, I loved him, but I can see, okay, you ain't what you used to be. Why are you seeing anything from the chef?
Oh,
I'm not seeing it, and my question to you is, why not?
This guy does a great job of taking care of his body off the court. Obviously, those ankle injuries, everyone thought that they made a huge mistake by trading Monte, and who is this kid? Who's this little light-skinned guy that game doesn't translate? And I think he's just always listened to and remembered all that, and has obviously become the greatest shooter we've ever seen, arguably 1 or 2, depending on who you ask, as far as greatest point guards we've ever seen in this game. And there just hasn't been slippage yet. You know what I mean? I think, and obviously being in this system and having guys that can, you know, from time to time carry the load for him also helps. You know, having someone smart like Draymond, having on the offensive end who can get everyone into sets and find his players. And then for so many years, Klay was that guy that always took that tough matchup on the defensive end, so Steph didn't have to, you know, burn himself out doing that. So I think the system, obviously, I'm not taking anything away from his greatness, but I think obviously this system has kind of been built around him to really help him be the best player he can possibly be. And I've gone on record several times saying, you know, you see the luxury tax and what this team is in the luxury tax, but I'm all money in the entire time Steph Curry is a Golden State Warrior because, you know, he's a special player. He's a generational player, and you feel like every time you have him, you know, with that core, there's a chance they can win a championship.
Go ahead.
Yeah, hey, I said that was the last thing. Listen, so I get on my partner's nerves because I'm random, Matt. That's a character flaw. And the other day, my partner's looking at me and he goes, "What are you thinking about?" And out of nowhere, Matt, I respond, "When is the We Believe doc coming out? Any update on that?"
Man, Baron Davis is just hard-headed, man. We're really trying to make this We Believe doc happen. And Baron, I love him to death. That's my guy. He's just as hard-headed as it sounds. But, you know, I'm hoping we can find a middle ground and put that out because, you know, one thing I'll say, obviously this dynasty team took what we did, and obviously we took what Run TMC did, and, you know, this dynasty team has taken it to another level, but it's still to this day we're how many years removed?
Man.
Years removed, and, you know, when I'm in the Bay, it's all people talk about. When I came back and played on that 17 Warriors team, it wasn't even about the current team. It was, what was it like this? And and the players were asking me, so it's crazy to see all these years later how we really captivated, you know, the Bay Area in the NBA landscape, and it's definitely needed. So I'm doing my best.
All right, we wait, man.
Appreciate it, fellas.